You found the skeleton. How would you tell people that? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, how's it going? We are here for Dapper Reacts 57 on a Tuesday. Normally this would be Matt with Maddie's spot, but Maddie is off getting her PhD so that she can in fact officially take control over all the HARP installations and control the weather across the entire planet, because that's what happens when you get your PhD in meteorology, as we all know. But today I am instead joined by Vishanti, who is my most frequent Dapper Reacts co-host, although not my exclusive Dapper Reacts co-host. Sometimes Kip is here. Sometimes other people are here too. So, Vishanti, how you been? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm still really tired from a very busy weekend, but
Okay.
shout out Boston for being a really cool town full of cool people.
There you go. Yeah, you were out in what used to be my neck of the woods, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yep, I'm a fan of Boston.
It was nice being in Boston on Yom St. Patrick HaKadosh.
Yes.
So I could participate in all the festivities and the Yom Tov.
Well, speaking of days of the year that are remarkable for some reason, and I mean that in a very literal sense, in that they are to be remarked upon, today is the day of the vernal equinox.
Already?
Yes, that is today. The vernal equinox, the moment the sun crosses the ecliptic, will happen at 8:06 p.m. Pacific time. And in honor of the equinox, I am today drinking equal parts vodka, cranberry juice, and club soda, which is not great, but it's fine, and it's equal parts, just like today is equal parts day and night. Or roughly equal parts day and night.
I can't believe it's the equinox already. That is crazy to me. I feel like we're still in the middle of winter.
Well, it doesn't feel that way here in Tucson, where we are, getting into like the 20s Celsius.
Look, I mean, it was definitely still winter in Boston.
Yeah,
like,
you asked me
in the
whether
30s and the 40s. I'm like,
This woman sends me a message like, "Hey, is a light jacket going to be enough, or should I bring something warm?"
Look, it had been in the 70s up until the day I left. That was a fair question.
Okay. All right, so we got a few things to read before we jump right into this. Joshua Geese? I'm not positive, Joshua. I'm very sorry. I'm going to go with Geese right now. I don't know. If that's wrong, which it probably is, please correct me. Gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Tilting Windmill, D-Boop, Robert Adset, Ian Houston, and William Wildermuth, which is one of our drink triggers. So let's go. Let's take 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you know what? This is better than when I tested it earlier, because I made a tiny batch earlier just to see, like, is this going to be passable? And it was definitely not as cold, because, I kept everything in the refrigerator and now it's full of ice. Whereas before, I got everything home from the grocery store after walking home from the grocery store, because I like to walk there. And yeah, it was all room temperature-y and kind of bleh. But, alright, thank you very much, Joshua Geese. Everybody send some nice sessile tunicates, no pelagic tunicates, don't do it. I know Vishanti wants you to, but don't do it, don't listen to her. Which...
Don't listen to him, it's the equinox, you can do whatever you want.
I don't know how that works, but okay.
You don't have to, you're a dinosaur.
Hey, we had equinoxes back when I was, just a young dinosaur in the Jurassic.
You don't have to understand how it ties to pelagic tunicates.
Okay. Also, the days were only like 20 hours long.
How did you not fly off into space?
It's still a very low relative amount of centripetal force. Oh, man, everyone's saying pelagic tunicates in...
Good. See, they have to make up for the fact that I was out of town.
Yes.
On Saturday.
That is apparently the case, yeah. Vandelli 1998.
So I got...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. It's super chat.
Oh, Vandalian 1998 for $5 says, nice to join Vishanti for another lovely Saturday stream. I feel like it's only day since I last saw her. I'm blanking on a whole week. You're blanking on more than a week if you think this is Saturday, my guy. Because it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then Goop23, who's been a member for 20 months, says, my mom's birthday is tomorrow. Well, happy birthday to your mom, Goop23.
Hey!
And also we're going to take a drink because Vandalia's Super Chat ended with a Mothra.
Woohoo! Speaking of Mothra,
Mm-hmm.
for like Long May She Reign, I think I converted one of my family members to like Team Mothra, so.
Wow. So you do proselytize.
She's so beautiful, though. I was like, hey, you need to watch this movie because she's in it.
Ooh, which one?
I was just like, King of the Monsters. I was like, you need to watch it because she's so pretty. Look at her wings.
She is very pretty in that
and
movie.
look at she. Look at she.
All right, guys. So we are here to take a look at a brand new creationist that I just found the other day.
Wait.
Oh.
So I forgot. So one of the things that I did when I was in Boston, the Discord people already know this. I wanted something to do on the 17th, and I figure, well, if I'm in like the place for American Irish St. Patrick's Day, I may as well find something like Chicago, yeah. And I was like, hey, I'm in Boston, I should do something really great. And I found out there was a Dropkick Murphy show. And I am so glad I went, because it was as loud and boisterous and lively as I expected. I mean, and I also got...
Very nice. Boston is the best place to go see the Dropkick Murphys, and St. Patrick's Day is the best day to go see the Dropkick Murphys.
That's right.
And, yeah. In honor of, Yom St. Patrick HaKadosh, GTFO Nachashim.
That's right.
Get out. No Nachashim here. Actually, I mean, I live in Tucson. There's Nachashim everywhere around here. So many.
I will say this as well. I got to hang out with Fossil Daddy in person because he's from that general area. Yes. And we got to spend time at the Harvard Museum. And he was pointing out all the specimens and fossils that he had sold or donated to them, which is really cool. Nice. So
it's almost like
always
when you
go with someone.
Yeah. That's what you'd say.
Yeah, you read my mind. Going through a museum with someone who knows their stuff is definitely the optimal experience. So,
which in some cases
first time
means me.
Seeing a Moa skeleton in person.
Oh, really?
And
damn,
wow.
Yeah, Moas are really impressive.
Talk about getting drop kicked. One of those would send you into the next epoch.
Oh yeah, easily. Those things would be just a disaster to get on the bad side of.
I know. Also, I did want to show the chat my Red Sea chariot wheel.
Yes, from Pharaoh's misadventures in the Red Sea, chasing after Moses. Because, as we all know, Ron White claims to have found chariot wheels down in the Red Sea, and what he actually found were, in fact, coral formation.
And so, yeah, that's Red Sea coral. And Fossil Daddy also gifted me a Megalodon tooth.
Nice.
And still got some of the enamel on it.
So. Now you have something to talk about when you meet Jason Statham.
That's right.
Or Rainn Wilson, for that matter.
So, I don't anticipating meeting either of them, but you never know.
Hey, you live near Hollywood.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm nearer than I used to live, so yeah.
Yeah. All right, so
relative.
We found a new I found a new creationist for this today. He is Dave Wurtzel. I'm not really sure, but he goes by Dino Dave, and he likes to give talks at his Genesis Park, which is a weird little dinky museum kind of thing. I say it's a museum kind of thing because when I went to the website for it to look around, it had links under exhibits, but it wasn't actually pictures of any exhibits at the place. It was just like a regular website that was under the exhibit category, so I don't actually know if there's anything there. Anyway, he gives these conferences on creationism, and this is not the first one in the series or anything. It was just the one that I thought sounded the most, like I would have the most to say about it, which is, I was going to say the most bearable, but really for me, when it's bearable is when I have things to say, and when I don't, then it just becomes unbearably boring and dumb. So, that's what we're doing. Brand new creationist. We've got 59 minutes of this. We're definitely not getting through it today or on Saturday. But that being said, Tuesdays are a drinking day, pretty much always. The rules, some of which we've already gone over, or are already encountered, are if you gift memberships, we will take a drink for each gifted membership. And that, past like 20 or so, then that becomes more of a finish the drink and go get more. Which is great, because at my equal parts ratio, I have like 6 liters worth of ingredients for this. So, you know. I've got way too much cranberry juice. They don't actually sell cranberry juice in insane amounts. They only sell it in giant jugs. But anyway.
Yeah.
We will also take a drink if anyone uses any of the kaiju emojis. That includes Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla. We will also take a drink if either Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly. And then the final way any of you can get us to drink, if we otherwise weren't, encountering a drink trigger, is by super chatting anything to the effect that Answers in Genesis, that's AIG, is in fact a bag of dicks. You will have to get a little clever, which I believe is actually what Asteru Archives just did for $6.66. Saw Richard Dawkins fail to understand what binary is, so I'm sending a drink in binary. This looks suspiciously like you're actually sending it in hexadecimal, but I will accept it, because each hexadecimal digit is directly tied to 4 binary digits. And it sends 41, 49, 47, 20, 69, 73, 20, 61, 20, 62, 61, 67, 26, F66, 20, 64, 69, 636, B73, which is indeed hexadecimal. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it says AIG is a bag of dicks in ASCII, and I'm going to take a drink.
Points for creativity.
Yeah. Well, actually, the fact that everything's like relatively constrained indicates that it probably is ASCII, because if you're using Latin, the Latin alphabet for ASCII, it always is going to be starting off with a couple zeros. So, and Neurondipus just joined the channel at Tetrapod. Welcome, Neurondipus. Thank you very much.
Yay!
Everyone, send tetrapods and tunicates. Lots of tunicates and tetrapods. All right. We will also take a drink if Dino Dave says something so stupid we just kind of have to cool our brains down. We'll take a drink if Dino Dave gets something factually correct. If Dino Dave tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen, we'll take a drink. Now, on the story, it's a little bit subjective, but if it sounds like something that you found at r/thathappened, taking a drink for it. We'll also take a drink if Dino Dave mentions that German political movement that was prominent in like the 30s and 40s and whatnot in Germany that YouTube doesn't like very much. Although even when I don't say it, they routinely demonetize every single one of my streams anyway. So that's always fun. And then I request to have it restored, and it almost always gets restored, despite the fact that means that I lose out on most of the ad revenue, because most of it comes in the first couple days. So, thanks, YouTube! Anyway, we'll also take a drink if Dino Dave confuses, this is called ad hominem, by the way, and it can only happen once per stream, but if he confuses what we can know from the specimen Lucy of Australopithecus afarensis with what we can know about any larger taxon to which she belongs, we'll take a drink for that. For instance, if he says, well, we don't know what Australopithecus hands look like because I didn't find any hands on Lucy. Well, guess what? We found other Australopithecus hands, so it doesn't matter if we found hands on Lucy. That's an ad hominem. We will also take a drink for Trojan source. That comes up whenever a creationist cites a source. We check the source, and rather than confirming or just not supporting, it actively disconfirms a creationist point. That's a Trojan source right there.
So I was tuning into a stream with, I think it was Dan McClellan, somewhat recently. Or maybe Kip Davis. Doesn't matter. They were doing a live debunk, and we had a Trojan source pop up, and I was so close to typing it in the chat, and I realized that maybe like 2 other people would get it. And I didn't feel like explaining.
Kip might have been one of them, though. And if Kip is one of them, he can explain it to everyone. Because he's on the channel.
That's
so.
true. That's true.
We'll also take a drink if either Vishanti or I can successfully predict what's going to happen. We'll also take a drink if I screw up the running of the show. Dapper is a professional drink. And I think that covers it. Did I miss any?
I don't know. I wasn't keeping track.
All right. Well, if I miss one and we drink for it, I'll tell you what it was. Now, before we start, please do remember, you don't have to actually play along with alcohol. You don't have to play along at all. If you want to play along, feel free to use juice, tea, coffee, soda, water, a baked pen. I don't care. Do whatever it is that you want to do. And if you do decide to ingest intoxicating substances, know your limits, pace yourself, and I do not accept liability or responsibility, nor does Vishanti, nor does the channel as a whole, for any of the nonsense that you get up to after playing along, including grievous bodily harm, dismemberment,
Operating
maiming,
heavy machinery.
operating heavy machinery, texting your ex.
Texting your ex.
Not my fault. It's on you. No, I did love True Music says Audible Godzilla or Mothra. No, I covered that one. All right, here we go.
Well, good evening once again.
Good evening.
The missing links in evolution. So we'll get a little bit technical in this session, but you're a smart crowd and you can follow along.
It doesn't work as well when you actually insert the chevron in the body of the text, so that the text actually has to wrap around the chevron. Like, the chevron is it's like a editor's mark, right? Like, hey, you're missing a word or a punctuation mark or something. So the right way to do this is just to expand the space between the lines, and then like on a separate layer. Couldn't? Why not?
He could have.
Oh, could have. Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you expand the space between the lines, then on a separate layer put in your chevron, and then in a separate layer you put in missing. Just a little graphic design kind of deal. Also, I don't know what the deal is with this weird like bump map across the entirety of this very blue background that says information and has DNA and a brain and a computer.
Yeah, I was going to say there's also a keyboard, a DNA strand, and looks like part of a circuit board.
Oh, goodness. Oh, he's going to be one of those big guys on like, oh, the DNA is actually a digital code and it's really a computer system, just like Bill Gates said or whatever.
I feel like wherever he is right now,
it's called the
Jackson
Carrot,
Wheat is... Oh, Carrot. Well, yeah, Chevron too. I feel like Jackson Wheat is screaming into the void right now. Because he was just talking to some young Earth creationists who just didn't understand that information is a way for us to talk about, biological.
Yeah, it doesn't actually mean anything on the ground.
Coding. Yeah, it's not like, oh, we called it information, therefore, or we called it code, therefore it's designed. Like, no, that's just an analogy.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, DM, the first cell had to find a wife wing, notes that chevrons are for locking in coordinates on a Stargate.
That is one of the things, therefore. Alex Markle says, clearly graphic design is his passion, lol. Yeah. I mean, look,
I'm very almost clip art.
I don't consider myself to be, like, an amazing artist or anything. Especially when it comes to, like, typography and whatnot. But, like, even I'm like, dude, I would have to try to be this bad. Like, it would take effort. You're like, Dapper, make a really bad intro. Okay.
Be delving into evolutionary theory, and sometimes when people think of this idea of missing links, they get the idea of some kind of a wacky half and half sort of creature, kind of like this Kawasaki here.
No one thinks that. Except for young Earth creationists who think about a crocoduck. Where's the crocoduck?
Yeah, I'm gonna just take a drink.
Nonsense.
You just covered everything I was going to.
Redneck motorcycle. But really what I'm talking about is the...
Are those handlebars stuck on horns?
Yeah.
Weird. And also, he covered this whole thing with a weird cloth filter. Dude, calm down with the weird filters.
All we need is, like, the 3D art where it's, like, badly, what's the word? There's, like, a really crappy drop shadow, and then there's a gradient, and it's just eye bleed gradient,
Look, drop shadows are fine very occasionally. But, like, Asta, why do I hear yodeling Ryu for $5? It says, missing the lambda thinks in evolution. Learn to format your type, young Earth creationisters. Yes. Yeah, it did kind of look like missing lambda, or the lambda links, yeah.
Yeah.
Missing the lambda links, yeah.
Also, now that I'm noticing that there's the slideshow of the transitional forms playing, besides the, growing urge to yodel, I will note that at the Harvard Museum, I got to see the skeletons of both a baleen and a blue whale.
Nice.
And they were big.
Yeah. Did they have hips?
Yes.
Good.
Missing links in the logic, challenges to evolutionary theory, difficulties, problems that make the theory not hang together.
Oh, Tiktaalik.
So
one of those two.
Yes. So in other words, he's not going to be telling us about transitional forms. He's just going to be pulling crap out of his ass that he thinks is a problem for evolution. Cool. Thanks, buddy.
Now, hopefully this slide is already starting to look a little bit familiar to you if you attended our last session. The two models of origins that I would like to see taught in the school. One, the creation model.
Oh.
What does increasing order even mean?
What does decreasing order even mean, for that matter? Also,
Like,
I'm taking a
don't
drink
they-
for he wants this taught in schools.
But also, this might just be me here, so help me out. Aren't they big on, like, entropy is increasing, therefore things started out ordered and are becoming more disordered? Checkmate, atheists!
So, yes, but I think what he's trying to say with decreasing order is that that's what happens over time as a result of the fall. So, because I think he's one of those, like, the second law is a result of the fall guys, which is weird, because it would mean things like friction wouldn't work, which would then bring into question, like, well, how did Adam and Eve get around if they couldn't actually push off the ground? Because that requires the second law.
Okay, so Bree is making a note that a blue whale is a baleen whale. Did you mean sperm whale? I remember that one of the two skeletons was a blue whale. I don't recall the specific other whale.
Did it have teeth?
No. And it was actually, it's funny because the, what are the filaments called that they filter feed through?
Baleen.
Baleen, thanks.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm very well rested. Those were still preserved on the display, and it just, for whatever reason, struck me. I was like, wow, those just look like brush bristles from, like, broom.
Or do they look like
I'm not
Wilford
used to
Brimley's
seeing them.
mustache?
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing them out of context like that. I'm used to seeing them, like, on a living specimen, so just seeing a skeleton with the baleen on it was
really weird.
very disorienting.
So, yeah, there's a couple things. Order doesn't mean much in science, right? Like, if you need to use it as a term, you're going to have a definition for your particular application. And in most cases, scientists don't really care about defining order in the systems that are under study. Also, I really, really hate that the little wires that are supporting these two sides of the scale don't connect to the little loops on either the bottom of the scale or the top of the scale. I really, really hate it because I'm just now noticing it and I can't unnotice it. This is real. His bad graphics
It's like
design
kerning.
is really gonna. Oh my goodness! Don't tell them about that.
Bad. I'm sorry. Yeah.
There
is such a thing as cursed knowledge.
Yeah, things man was
Honestly.
not meant to know, and kerning is one of those things. You don't need to know about it. Don't learn about it. Okay, so, but I'm going to object on the evolution side to also uniformitarian gradualism because geology has moved
Heather
a long
Kuhn
way.
just
Oh yeah, there
read
you
your
go.
mind.
Heather Kuhn, yeah, uniformitarianism doesn't
Yeah.
equal gradualism. Yeah, so geology has moved a long way, right? We're at a point now where geologists are using a model called actualism, which acknowledges that various catastrophic and rapid events have left significant impact on the geology of Earth. And no one is anymore just ignoring the possibility of things like asteroid impacts, massive floods, earthquakes, huge volcanic eruptions, stuff like that. So, all right, here we go.
Model, and in that origin by design, the evidence for design, and over against that, the evolutionary model.
Oh, also, so why do I hear yodeling, Ryu, for $2 says, this guy's at 1.5 bingo squares per sentence.
He really is.
Oof.
Because we filled up like 25% of the card already, and we're barely in.
Man.
With a natural origin. And then here you have in the creation model, decreasing order. That is, things were created good, and they have at best hell level or maybe even degenerated over time. On the evolutionary side, you have to get from molecules to man. We talked about that. And on the creation side, catastrophism, that is the great geological formations that shape planet Earth happen quickly.
I would have said that as catastrophism, but that's okay. You don't have to put the emphasis on the right syllable.
I'll let it go. But I also do want to point out that the problem that creationists have, oh, bless you. The problem creationists have, right, is that while it's easy to find catastrophically formed things on Earth, what they tend to be less well suited for, creationists that is explaining the non-catastrophic formations, right? Like, oh, hey, look, here's 600 feet of, say, fine-grained limestone. You know, the stuff that deposits most quickly in calm, warm, slightly acidic water. And this happened in the middle of a big old flood full of turbulence. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they don't have an answer for. Meldeborn, for 18 months, or who's been a member for 18 months, is at the Seropsa level, says, this guy is turning the bingo counter into a speed run. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Hey, that just means lots of bingos.
Through catastrophic processes rather than slowly through uniformitarian gradualistic processes. And in this session, we're going to visit mostly on that first one there, and that is origin by design versus natural origin. Ooh. Our jumping off spot in the scriptures tonight is going to be 2 Peter chapter 3.
Don't care.
Scoffers.
I knew it.
Scoffers out there today.
Wait, Can you go back to that frame? It looks like he may have stolen one of Kent Hovind's slides.
Oh, he almost certainly did.
Unbeliever. Yeah. Someone's a skeptic, right? Scoffers out there today.
I don't know where it is. Sorry.
Oh, yes. We live in a...
Look, I watched this on Times 2 while also working on other stuff a few days ago. He steals a bunch of Kent Hovind and AIG material for his slides. With no credit. Savage Perpetual Mitosis Cobra, who's been a member for 16 months, Godzilla, says AIG is a bag of nearly 2-meter organs found on mysticetes. Ooh, I'll take a drink for that.
Instead of Gesundheit.
Yes, I did. It's non-denominational.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, Gesundheit is health, right? So that's also...
Yeah, but it's German.
Oh. Don't
have anything against the German language. Except that it can be annoying when it gets to too many different, like... How am I supposed to decline this noun? With Mark Twain, I'd rather decline a beer than a German noun.
Jeez, right.
Postmodern world where it's...
That's how I felt about Russian.
Yeah, Russian can be.
It's like, make the declension stop!
Very much in vogue to throw off all these various hierarchies, the meta-narratives of the past, and to think in terms of maybe lots of little various...
Okay, I'm going to start a poll. Do you have any clue WTF he's even talking about right now?
No.
Yeah, we're going to have a yes, no, and add a term.
9.
Obviously.
Yet.
Because this whole, like, they're throwing off paradigms about meta-narratives. I'm like, dude, this isn't your, like, postmodernist literature interpretation class. What are you talking about?
I'm like, wait, who did he copy-paste for this? Like,
I mean, it wasn't Kent Hovind, because Kent Hovind would never know the word meta-narrative.
Kent Hovind doesn't have the kind of vocabulary.
No.
Crusher the Croxagore? Croxagore, thank you, says, don't remind me of learning Russian yet!
DM, the first cell had to find a wife wing for $2, says, horns, scoffs and heathen skepticism, more horns, and a Godzilla. We'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. Yeah, how dare you scoff at things that, when taken literally, make literally zero sense.
Tribal theories and rebel against the great structures of the past. So this is very pertinent to the day in which we live. And not only does it talk about the scoffers coming, but kind of says what they're going to say.
Okay, he didn't. All right.
Okay.
It's similar.
It's the end times.
It's not the same.
Verse 3 says, and so these people are predicted.
Oh man, can you believe it that some book might have said that people might not believe the things that the author of the book was saying? That's just every book that's ever been written as a nonfiction book, ever.
I, for one, just can't believe that there was ever a time where people, like, didn't disagree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the past was full of harmony and agreement. That's why the Talmud is so short.
Exactly.
Because no one ever disagreed.
You could totally just read it in a day or a weekend, even.
Yeah, people were like, oh, Rashi said that? Got it. We're good. Done.
Yeah. Well, that settles it.
But not only does the Bible tell about the coming of the scoffers, the skeptics, and predict what they're going to say, but the Bible gives us how we can respond to them.
Ooh.
And the Bible says that they're willingly ignorant of two things. They're willingly ignorant of the origin of the earth, the watery conditions of the early earth, and we're going to talk about that.
I don't remember that from 2 Peter 3, 5 through 6, but
I
okay,
don't
buddy.
either. But hey, you know what? Maybe I missed it.
The Genesis flood, I'll grant him that. That's in there. Also, wow,
Well,
somebody cranked up the
it does
vertical
say that
exaggeration on that
they're-
globe.
They're willfully ignorant that the world being created out of water, and then it mentions the flood. So that might be what
Okay.
he's referring
All right,
to.
fair enough then. In that case, yeah, okay, that's cool. Although also noting that that's the reason that they're allegedly scoffing doesn't really tell you how to respond to them. Because if someone says that's dumb, and your response is, well, you're just ignorant of it, that doesn't help.
You're ignorant on purpose.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Then the only
Okay.
response to that is to just walk away, because that's not a good faith interlocutor at that point.
Yeah, it's just like, hang on 1 second. Okay.
Savage premarital mitosis cobra. Gonna get out of here with all that sinful mitosis right there. Says, I find your lack of skepticism disturbing.
In the first session,
We may or may not ever cover that first session. This could be a one and done for Dino Dave. And by one and done, I mean like this video of his. It's obviously not going to be just today, because I already made the thumbnail for Saturday. Guess who's on it?
Yeah.
You, but also Dino Dave.
tomorrow, in our main session tomorrow, and then the Genesis flood. These are the two things they're ignorant of, and those are two of our upcoming topics.
Oh,
so
good.
we'll address that more in the future. But I like to say the Bible is more up to date than tomorrow's Google headlines.
Hey, how's that whole like devastation of Sidon and Tyre so that they'll never ever be inhabited again going?
Oh. Wow, that was funny.
Good
That was a
drink.
good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
Okay.
is. The Bible predicts exactly where our world is going.
Oh.
How's the
that's
end of
interesting.
Daniel working out for you?
Well, I would just be curious, like, where in the Bible is it going to tell me who's going to win the next Super Bowl or the World Cup? Because I would love to place
Yeah,
a bet on
really.
that on the basis of the Bible. Also,
Isn't that what the Bible code's for?
well, yeah,
Isn't that
that's a
what
good
like
point.
Michael Drosnin was saying? Like, oh,
Yeah, you gotta search through every single possible version of like how many letters to skip until you get the winning Super Bowl odds for 2025, I guess, or no, 20.
yeah. Yeah, the next one's in 25. We already have
Yeah,
this one.
okay. Look, I don't follow football. I don't remember. There's no, it's
I don't
next
remember
season.
who won, but I don't care.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna try and say, but then I realized I don't even know if the team I was gonna name was even in the damn thing, so I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah.
Look, hey,
Yeah.
not to knock anyone who's into football, you have fun with that. I highly encourage you to go watch that if that's your thing.
San
Great.
Francisco?
I don't know.
The chat, someone in the chat will correct me because I don't follow NFL.
So yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, the Bible makes predictions. Some of them are very obviously didn't come true, right? Like, Jesus didn't come back with the kingdom of heaven within a generation. That's just not a thing that happened. There are various predictions from the prophets and from the writings like Daniel and whatnot that just there's no obvious way in which they came true. Yeah, and like, Bible going to tell you about like I don't know climate change? No, is it going to tell you about like anything other than like generic? There will be wars and rumors of wars. Which yeah, okay, that's true, I guess, but it's also kind of like, did you know the Bible says the sun is going to come up every day? Like, yeah, that's kind of what a day is. So yeah, no, that's makes sense. Unless you're in like,
Oh, San Fran and Kansas City. Okay, cool.
there you go.
Well, here's
There
our
you go.
outline for our seminar this evening. We're going to talk about the evolutionist arguments. I'm going to give you, as best I can,
I'm just going to drink for evolutionists.
from my study, their best arguments
Ooh.
for the Darwinian synthesis, the Darwinian evolutionary viewpoint.
You know what? I'm going to give him props for saying the Darwinian synthesis. I would prefer that he say the neo-Darwinian synthesis or modern evolutionary theory,
Mhm.
but you know what? That's a lot better than most creationists do because they just say Darwinism and leave it at that. So you know what? I'm going to count that as you getting something right there, Dino Dave, and we're going to take a drink for that because that's way better than the average creationist does. So hey, cheers,
yeah,
man.
really. Especially like the ones with proper like degrees.
Yeah. And like, as far as I
Nice.
know, this guy doesn't have a PhD or anything. I think he has a master's. I looked him up on, I think ICR has him listed as a speaker. I looked up his
Oh, okay.
ICR speaking thing. Although, he must have lost a whole lot of weight since the time that he posed for his photo on there, because like, that guy is a lot skinnier. So hey, I mean, if that was a weight loss journey for him, then congrats, man. That looked like it was a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
So-
the chat's talking about the immortal Jew.
Of course. As to why do I hear yodeling, Ryu? For $5 says, no, Dino Dave was just predicting the rise of ChatGPT when he said the Bible was more reliable than Google. Sarcasm. With the Godzilla. Nice. I'll take a drink for that.
Rise in Serena Butler.
Ooh.
Triple bingo. Whoa, no, triple bingo.
The people who
Just
get the
kidding.
Serena Butler example are like the real deep into nerd stuff.
Real
people.
ones know.
Jeez. That's some obscure reference right there.
And then I want to talk briefly about biological complexity and some mechanism challenges, and then we'll wrap things up.
That actually sounds like a pretty good outline for a talk like this, so I'm looking forward to that.
Now, we need to start by talking about what is evolution, because it's difficult to find two evolutionists that can agree on a definition of evolution. I've done these.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure I could.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure I could find two. Yeah.
Evolution is changing the allele frequencies of a population over successive generations, or
Yeah.
more simply, over time. We'll do a poll.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, the last poll, by the way. Do you have any clue what he's even talking about right now? No, 50%. Turtle, 49%. No one voted yes out of the 67 vote. Not a single yes vote. So, also, I'm noticing 113 people watching, but only 46 likes, which unfortunately means that I like less than half of you, half as well as you deserve. So, hit that like button. All right. Here we go. If you are an evolutionist, in quotes, do you agree that evolution is a change in allele frequencies over time? Oh, that's two
It lets you
characters
type
too
all
long.
that?
No, it's 2 characters too long.
Use contractions.
I'm going to get rid of the E and over. And I'm going to get rid of the A and that. And now it works. There we go.
I was about to say, why don't you just use contractions? Because I'm pretty confident that you would have spelt out "you are" and not put "your."
Look, I'm like...
I knew it!
I did. Look, I'm like Data. I only use contractions when the writers forget that I'm not supposed to use contractions. Which is like some 20-something times over the course of the entire series. In fact, actually, there's one episode where Riker is like in a weird simulation holodeck thing, and he decides that it's one of the reasons he knows it's not real is because Data used a contraction. Except the real Data used a contraction earlier in that exact same episode. It's like, come on, guys.
These debates, and it's hard
That's why
even to get them
only a human would make that error.
Mm.
No
to give me a definition oftentimes. And part of the reason is that there's these different evolutionary scenarios. We have cosmic.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You don't have to just have yourself slobbering all over Kent Hovind's AIG. That's not a thing you have to do, buddy. Just take a drink.
It's like he took the exact same material and just changed the solid blue background with a Bible in the corner to whatever this nonsense is. And instead of just white text with yellow highlights for important parts, he has an eye bleed red text over blue background. And this is wow, guy. It's like, hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just change it up a little.
Right?
That's what this is.
So, in case anyone needs this being said, only the last two of this are evolution when you're talking about the theory of evolution. And of course, he defines it incorrectly, right? Because there's no such thing as a kind. So, macroevolution is just, in fact, evolution at or above the species level. And microevolution is evolution at below the species level, not at or below, below. So, yeah, we're off to a great start. I was actually a little bit more optimistic at the beginning of this, where I was like, yeah, that's a good outline. And he got like Darwinian synthesis that's better than most of them do. I was getting my hopes up. And then we just went into straight up, hey, what if I just regurgitated Kent Hovind's nonsense at you? Like, like he just was a mama bird that threw up a bunch of 6 types of evolution into Dave's mouth, and now he's going to throw that up into your mouth because now you're the baby bird. It's a great image right there. As to
I think we're about to set another blackout record.
As to why do I hear yodeling? Ryu for $5 says, Darwin's beard. Is that Big Bang is required for evolution for the 666th time? I know Dave's a winner. He wins a bag of AIGs. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll take a drink. Yeah, it's... So, spoiler alerts. Evolution doesn't actually depend on how the universe came to be here. It really doesn't.
Weird. It's almost like evolution's talking about like biology.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like if you were trying to solve a murder, right? And you were looking for all these clues, and you had like splatter analysis and shell casings and whatnot, and you found a potential suspect. Someone was telling you about like the name of some guy, and then you realize, oh, yeah, okay, but I don't know what hospital he was born in, so pack it up, guys. We got nothing. Time to go home. Yeah, maybe that's not how things work. Maybe you don't always need to know everything about the entire history of something to know something about a smaller portion of the history of that thing. Which, you know, as someone with a history degree, that happens a lot, right? Like, oh, hey, do we know the names of, say, every single last person who fought in the American Revolutionary War? No, we don't. Does that mean that we don't know that there was an American Revolutionary War? Also, no. Well, in fact, we have plenty of evidence for that, even if we don't know the names of every single person who fought in it. All right, Savage Premarital Mitosis Cobra for $5 says, pro tip, if you're going to plagiarize, don't plagiarize a dumbass. Very
Helpful life advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're also going to end that poll because it doesn't need to be up for all that long. So, if you were an evolutionist, do you agree that evolution is a change in allele frequencies over time? Yes, 76%. Turtle, 23%. No, 0%. So look at that. We found a definition of evolution that a whole bunch of evolutionists can agree on. Amazing.
Evolutionist.
Yes, evolutionists. I'm sorry, I misspelled evolution.
Evolution.
You ran out of space.
That's the evolution of matter.
Matter. Your CMB's manga for 69 secs. Wow, the perfect number. That might be the perfect super chat amount and currency. 69 secs. Almondo Calvo 2, Young Earth Creationist plagiarist Boogaloo.
Boogaloo, yeah.
That's awesome.
I can tell that Dino Dave checked with the copyright before he put
obviously.
Up that slide.
Yeah, guys, this has been completely approved by the copyright. Don't worry about it. He's definitely not a plagiarist.
Mm-mm.
Although, to be fair, Kent Hovind did frequently say in his videos that I don't copyright any of my material. You're free to use it whatever way you want. So, in that case, technically, it's not plagiarism, I guess. Or at least...
I mean, I would say that it's at least is in the spirit of it, because if you copy material like word for word without attribution,
like if
even if the person's like, yeah, whatever, quote me, use it however, I mean, you're still not attributing credit to them.
Like
so
if I published
those aren't your words.
If I published like A Midsummer Night's Dream but changed the title and put my name as the author, it's like technically not illegal, but really scummy. Because I didn't come up with that story. I didn't invent Puck. Wait, is that... Am I thinking of Puck?
Yeah, Puck is in there.
Okay, I'm thinking of Puck. Yeah, you're right. Suddenly I'm like, oh wait, am I forgetting Shakespeare? Oh no! Alright, as to why do I hear yodeling review for $6.90? Yes. 64 Darwin disciples agreeing on a definition of evolution is better than any creationist model's agreement reigns. Yes. Alright, here we go.
Energy in the Big Bang, what started the universe. So we have cosmic evolution. Then we have stellar evolution, that mostly what's...
By the way, stellar evolution is not the origin of stars. It is a phrase in science, but it means the life cycle of stars from when they start collapsing all the way through their time on the main sequence, if they're a main sequence star, all the way to when they die in like a nova or a supernova, or just kind of puffing up and then just kind of blowing away like our sun's going to do. Although I did once say it was going to explode, and someone's like, no. And I was like, well, how fast does it have to be an explosion? Because on a universal timeline, the puffing away of the Earth's the sun's mass might as well be an explosion. But no, I get it. It's fair. It's not going to be an explosion on a human timescale like a nova would be.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, but
coming out of the Big Bang is just lots of hydrogen. Well, this has to...
Hey, there was a tiny little bit of helium too, my man. Come on.
I mean, it's not wrong. You did get some hydrogen. Not immediately, but eventually.
It took a while, yeah, but then eventually it was mostly hydrogen and a little bit of helium and other things.
Even
clumped
crazier space dust.
together eventually to form the stars and the planets. And
I mean,
That's a star.
you skipped over galaxies because, the cores of galaxies were before the cores of stars, and then... But it's okay, it's fine. We're grading on a creationist curve, and as far as a creationist recounting, like, the history of the universe, you're not doing a horrible job. You're just kind of skipping over some stuff.
actually make some of these heavenly bodies out there. And then out of these stars will be synthesized some of the higher elements, and you have chemical evolution.
That's just called nucleosynthesis, right? Sometimes stellar nucleosynthesis. That's fusion of lighter elements into heavier elements. Nucleosynthesis, not stellar evolution. Just like cosmic evolution is just the Big Bang, which is why it's there in parentheses. A Big Bang.
And
I
then
love your audience because I can sing any Bill Wirtz jingle from History of the World and stuff, and people will appreciate it.
They just know.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think I've cultivated a pretty sweet audience. I am very happy with my audience. You
I
guys
agree.
are the best. Not to poo-poo other people's audiences, but like, I think my audience and me are a great match. All right, Chris McDaniel, who's been a member for 15 months, thank you very much. So, and is at the ambient level. Thank you very much for that too. Says, okay, I'm already loopy, and this guy's managing to befuddle my brain even more. So good night with a Godzilla and a Dapper. Good night.
Thylacoleon Kennedy says the creationist curve just goes right down to the bottom.
Ooh.
I think the creationist curve should be 8 inches per mile squared.
So here's the thing, right? There really are different tiers of creationists, right? So like Kent Hovind is obviously both dumber and more dishonest than, say, Ken Ham, right? Ken Ham's a bit smarter than Kent, and he seems to be like a real, actual believer.
And he's also managed to run a successful business without being, thrown in federal prison.
Right.
So
that's a key aspect there. Hasn't run afoul of the law too much. There's been some questionable stuff, but he's managed to like smooth over it. Also, if
he didn't go to big boy prison like Kent did.
Hey, Dino Dave, here's the thing. If you're just going to fill the entire screen with your slide, rather than making it the horrible washed out in-camera version of the slide, just actually put the slide in as an image on your editing timeline, like you've done before. This is terrible. Don't do this. Nick Olympics, our best Olympics, member for 10 months, says, if I told you you have a heavenly body, would you hold it against me? With a winky face and a Mothra. I would not. Although I might wonder if you mean that in like the Christian scripture sense of the new body post-resurrection, or if you're just hitting on me. I'll take a drink.
I mean, you know what? I'm not even trying to explain it because I thought of another joke and then I realized THC is starting to hit, so it may not come out the way that I conceived of it. So
to have organic evolution. Organic evolution is how do we get life?
That's actually origin of life, or abiogenesis, not organic evolution. One calls it
Mr. Farina! Clueless!
You got this universe that's supposedly 14.5 billion years or whatever years old, and then just around 4 billion years ago, you have life. And so how did life come about?
I mean, we don't know for certain. But
it's an open question.
It's an open question, but we have a lot of answers to that, right? Like we know how hypercycles can form. We know how RNA can form. We know various ways to solve the homochirality problem so that we can get homochiral mixtures of, like amino acids and whatnot. We know that RNA can catalyze the formation of proteins all on its own via ribozymes. Yeah. And the real question right now is how to combine all of these things, because we basically have the evolution, or well, not the chemical development of the important building blocks of life is something that for each class, we actually do have a pretty good idea of how to do that abiotically. The big question now is, what ways do they combine to actually create a living organism in the way that we normally think of living organisms? And that's where the question is right there. But again, just like with the Big Bang, it actually doesn't matter, right? Evolution, like biological evolution, remains the same whether or not life developed naturally, whether it was seeded by aliens, whether it was created by God, whether it was sneezed out by the invisible pink unicorn. It doesn't matter. All of those are fine as far as evolution is concerned. Now, as far as, your intellectual satisfaction and science are concerned, some of those are more plausible than others. But it, again, doesn't matter, right? Just like, if you want to know how that car skidded off the icy road into a ditch and hit a tree, doesn't matter if you know where that car was manufactured. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I'm definitely with the chat. Just, feels like some of these are disappearing. I don't think it is. But someone says, sorry if life being advanced chemistry doesn't agree with your theology.
The thing is, though, it does agree with some people's theology, and those people just are just like, yeah. Okay. That's the thing. You could just have a theology that isn't obviously and demonstrably wrong. That's an option you could take. But,
The origin of life from non-life, literally from just rocks and water. We'll talk about that.
Oh my goodness. Take a drink for literally just rocks and water. Because you know what a rock is? Lipids are a rock, everybody. Hydrocarbons, those are rocks, everybody. Water. Well, he said water. Okay, fair enough. But, yeah. Fun fact. The early Earth wasn't just rock and water. There were other things.
And then you have macroevolution. That is different, disparate kinds of creatures. How do we get these different kinds? And
What
then you
is a
have
kind?
microevolution.
Actually, so here's the thing, right? You can define a kind. In fact, there are great ways that you could scientifically determine whether or not you have one or more kinds. There are actual techniques you could use. You know what creationists never use? The techniques that would actually work. Instead, they go for half-assed morphological studies, and then they're like, we think these are different
But if you
kinds.
falsify it, then you could falsify it, and that's not an acceptable outcome.
True. Unlike actual science, creationism is horrified of falsification.
Which is variations
dogma
within the different kinds of creatures. Now, of all these different types of evolution, only one has ever been observed.
I'm sorry, are you telling me that we've never observed fusion in a star, taking lighter elements and turning them into heavier elements? Because, I think you live on a planet where you can just watch that happen anytime you want. Although I recommend getting a solar filter so you don't burn out your eyeballs. But, like...
Yeah, you can do that in about, 2.5 weeks, actually?
Yeah, there you go. So why do I hear yodeling, Ryu, for 616? Very nice. Says it's almost like rock is literally anything you find in a terrestrial planet's crust or something. I mean, the astronomers would disagree because they would also say that ice is an option.
Yeah.
Because for them, ice is basically hydrocarbons.
Chat said that too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Yeah. Ice includes water, hydrocarbons, carbon dioxide. And I
Thank you, fearmonger. Science isn't dogma, you're just stupid.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think one of my videos not that long ago actually used that clip.
Oh, good. Good.
Which one is it?
Is it nucleosynthesis? Because that's been observed. Macroevolution has been observed in both lab and in the wild. Microevolution has been observed. The Big Bang is just, you can just look outside and you're watching the Big Bang being observed.
Are the distances between stellar bodies like the same? No? Oh, there you go.
So, I mean, I would say all of them have been observed.
Big Bang.
The variation. I don't even like to call it evolution. It's been observed long before Charles Darwin came along.
Lots of things have been observed before they were named or well described, right? Like, that's I'm just gonna take a drink for, like, this was observed before Darwin named it, so it doesn't count. Sure, okay. I'm taking a drink.
I also remember what it was like
blackouts here.
To be like a fundamentalist, like young Earth creationist, and just not even liking the word evolution in any context whatsoever. Evolution, it made me think of evolutionists, and I was like, I don't like using this word for anything.
Oh, I apologize. I forgot DM the first cell had to find a wife wing. Language doesn't change. Good point.
Oh, of course.
I can put my stamp of linguist authority on that, because I am obviously an actual, real, 100% working linguist. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that one of the most important things you learn about linguistics when you're getting your history degree...
Yeah, exactly.
Languages don't change. That's why when I took Old English and the history of the English language, the professor stopped and said, it's the same thing, don't worry about it. And then we read Beowulf and it was fun. That's all that happens.
But this variation, this built-in capacity that God built into all organisms and their populations to vary and change. So, for example,
wait, is he going to go?
The question.
Is he going to go for continuous environmental tracking like ICR style? Because he went with his built-in capacity to change, and that's the kind of talk that I hear from like Randy Galuza, and not from AIG, who are okay with natural selection. But now his slide says genetic variation, so which is more the AIG version than the ICR version. So, like, I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go. You know what?
This is another deep cut for your audience, but it is Miet Day.
We're going to say, what is he doing? Created heterozygosity or continuous environmental tracking. I can actually fit continuous environmental tracking in there. Sweet. All right. Oh. All right. Whatever. Fine. I'll add in a third option. All right, here we go.
Pasting in the Miet reference so that you don't think I've just like made shit up.
I didn't think that in the first place.
I mean, some people in the audience are like meme lords like me, so they'll immediately know about Miet, but I don't always remember what memes you're like up on.
Our psychic connection doesn't extend to a perfect knowledge of meme.
Actually, no, that's one of the few areas.
Huh, what do you know?
Really big dogs, we've got really little dogs. They're both still dogs.
Oh my goodness, this guy has discovered the law of monophily. Take a drink, everybody. Wow. No matter how much you evolve, your ancestors remain your ancestors. And if your ancestors were a thing, you're that thing too. That's why I'm a dinosaur. And Vishanti is some kind of weird monkey man.
3 gods in a trench coat.
Or that. Although, you know what? I would expect there to be a whole lot more tigerness going on when you're on camera than there is.
I mean, listen, Agamotto has appeared in a couple of different forms over the years, and Tiger's just one of them.
I love that turtle
my
is
favorite. Well, yeah. I think second favorite appearance of Agamotto, not as a tiger, is literally appearing to Doctor Strange while sitting on a toadstool as the caterpillar while smoking hashish.
Nice. But the thing is, the reason Turtle is winning is because most people don't think that he knows the difference between created heterozygosity and continuous environmental tracking.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I don't entirely know, because continuous environmental tracking, near as I can tell, doesn't even have a coherent, like, internal logic. It's just a bunch of buzzwords strung together by Randy Galuza that he kind of forces the rest of ICR to go along with.
Right? We've got big horses, we've got little horses, and we both evolutionists and creationists agree.
All right. That tiny little horse with the kid on it is absolutely adorable. And I love this picture. And I can't hate it. Because even though it's being used in the service of horrible nonsense, and yeah, like the giant draft horse, this is a great picture. And I love everything about it. So,
also,
you know what?
St. Louis. Yes. St. Louis, I'm going to need you to do a little bit better for me, because when I landed there on like Thursday, I wanted to leave the airport during my 4-hour layover. And instead, when we touched down, everyone's phones immediately started screaming because there was a tornado warning. Yeah. So not only could I not leave and go to the Arch, I couldn't like see the Budweiser brewery either. So,
I've seen the Arch. It's okay. But like, whatever.
I mean, none of those things are life-changing, but like, you're there, why not? Just knock it out.
I saw it when I drove through it on my way to move to Arizona from over near Boston. Also, let's see. As to why do I hear yodeling, Ryu says, and I'm a dragon, even though Ken thinks I'm a dinosaur. No, dragons are not dinosaurs.
Agree, they did share a common ancestor, and it was a horse.
Yes, congratulations. The common ancestor of any two members of a particular taxon was also a member of that taxon. The common ancestor of a horse and another mammal was a mammal. The common ancestor of a horse and another vertebrate, like a dinosaur, was a vertebrate. the common ancestor of a vertebrate and an echinoderm was still a deuterostome. You know what? He's right. We'll take a drink. That's how evolution works, everybody.
Wow.
It's always curious to me the degree to which creationists will take things that are just standard evolutionary biology and say, look, this thing is true, therefore not evolution. It's like, no, that's not how anything works. All right, here we go.
See, I don't want to talk about.
Sorry, the chat says that they've gone up into the gateway arch and felt it moving.
That sounds creepy.
I
Unsettling.
don't think I want to replicate that experience.
Also, we got 3 super chats coming in, then we're going to take a drink when we get finished with these. All right. No, we had... Yeah, just 3. You Little Rascal for 200 Argentinian pesos says, for Vishanti, evil can't be like big tetrapods and small tetrapods share a common ancestor. Want to guess what it's called? Yeah. Cookie's right for $2 says, from Fiddler, what do you have against my horse? Savage premarital mitosis cobra for $5 says, Young Earth Creationist, we have big lies, we have little lies, but they're all variations of a kind. Yes. All right, guys.
Amazing.
I'm going to go refresh this drink because at this point it is almost entirely just ice melt water. So I
need some more LaCroix.
LaCroix for when you want to be reminded what flavor is, but you don't actually want to taste anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, so we will be back in just a few minutes. In the meantime, please enjoy the musical stylings of one Beethoven and also maybe an ad or two because I like having a roof over my head, and every once in a while I order Chinese food and then they send me like 2 pounds of coconut shrimp, which is way too much, but then I eat it over the course of like 2 days. All right. See you in a bit. All right, we are back, and yeah, at some point I must have muted that video file because, yeah, there was no music. Sorry about that. I have no idea when or why I would have done that, but you know what? Dapper's a professional. Here's a drink. All right, for 333, Ernie Matthews says, "Thanks for mocking the bald head." And for $2, Asta, "Why do I hear yodeling?" Ryu says, "Dapper's a professional, no music in the break fit." Yeah, so I took it. All right. Thank you very much. And also, I'm seeing 200 Argentinian pesos super chats, but only seeing like in the little like notifications. But not everywhere. Weird. Okay, that's just YouTube glitching out. All right, everybody. Now that we're back, real quick, I want to say that this channel is almost entirely supported directly through the support of you, the viewers, and my audience, right? And if you are currently not helping the channel financially, but you're interested and you want to support the work I'm doing here, all this entertainment and whatnot, or I suppose maybe edutainment. There are some great ways to do that. One of the best ones is Patreon. Patreon starts at $1 a month. It can go all the way to $100 a month if you're feeling super generous. There's a 15% discount if you go annually. There's also the channel memberships that starts at $1.99. That can go all the way up to $20 if you want. That gives you, both of those give you early access to about 6 months worth of stuff right now. I mean, it's a lot. It gives you access to the super secret Discord server that I tell everyone about every single time I'm live. But that's only for supporters. We have a lot of fun there. There's memes there. There's general chat where we just discuss whatever. There's a venting space for heavy stuff. There's gaming, TTRPG specifically, art share, all sorts of stuff. And it's just all people basically who are fans of this channel, which means you're already going to have something in common, right? You already have a connection to everyone else there. The channel memberships also give you access to a fancy little symbol next to your name. Your name turns green, unless you're a moderator, in which case it's still blue, but you still get the fancy symbol. You can get access to the channel emojis if you join the memberships. So that's a lot of fun. Also, Melly for $2 says, "Benthoven's rendition of 433 was excellent."
4 minutes, 33 seconds.
Yes.
Are you familiar? Okay. Just making sure. Like, a lot of us had that thought at the same time, and I'm very glad.
Yeah, the silence for 4, yeah.
But the thing is, it's not even science. Or silence, sorry. The whole point of it is that you're not going to get true silence. It's always the ambiance of the room, people shuffling around, like coughing and stuff. That's the point.
Yeah.
Which I know sounds pretentious, but I actually have something that this is within my area of expertise, so it doesn't happen quite very often.
All right. So, yeah, now if a monthly or annual thing isn't your deal, but you still want to help out, we have a number of great ways to still do that. There's a merch shelf right under this video. You can click it, you can go buy t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, all sorts of stuff, phone cases, whatever, right? It's a bunch of cool stuff there if you want to get that. There's also a Amazon wishlist for both V and Vishanti and Benthoven in the description. There's also a Patreon for Benthoven, so if you want to go support us that way. My wish list is mostly just stuff that will give me dopamine hits when I get it, like fun books, snacks, stuff like that. Right? Vishanti has.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's part of mine. It's also like learning things gives me dopamine hits, but some of that's very practical stuff, like furniture, like home organization, or other practical things like that. And those things also give me dopamine, so I'm just like dopamine, serotonin, woo!
Those are the only two things in the world that I like. All right, so with that being said, though, I want to say thank you very much to all the generous patrons, channel members, and all those people. And also, we just got 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships that were gifted by Savage Premarital Mitosis Cobra. They went to LaserFan17, Cookies Riot, Matthew K, Bug All Freemasons Bird, and Mars 2028, which sounds optimistic. But here's 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, it's much better when it's not just mostly ice melt.
Naked Olympics or Best Olympics. That was the one I was trying to think of, but couldn't get it out quickly enough because my brain right now is
that's pretty cool too.
Altered. But yes, oxytocin as well.
Dogs
For whatever reason, like I was gonna say like caffeine, but I was like, that's a molecule, but it's not the right one.
No, it's not.
So
cats, I want to see the dats and the cogs.
Wait,
I want big horses. We got little horses, and we both evolutionists and creationists agree they did share a common ancestor, and it was a horse.
Okay, we saw that.
yeah, but did the horses like come into our like awareness both as those massive Budweiser horses or the tiny little toy ponies?
They were all somewhat in between.
Were they
those two.
selectively bred?
Yeah. In fact, if you were to look at wild horse populations, they do not actually have the genetics to produce either of these two varieties without mutations. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, I don't want to talk about dogs and cats. I want to see the dats and the cogs.
Oh, you mean Hesperocyon
Bats and cogs?
and meiosis. He wants to see a common ancestor between the two of them. Or at least things that are morphologically similar to the common ancestor, which we have. It's called the meiocyds. They exist.
Was I mishearing him that he said dats and cogs?
Yeah, he's trying to make a portmanteau between cat and dog.
I heard cog and just assumed.
Yeah,
like,
the actual
mechanical
word.
machine, which is
Yeah. Yep. We're gonna take a drink because yeah, those exist. You can just go look in the fossil record for them. Meiosis and its allies are just right there. And they are morphologically representative of the intermediate forms between dog line and cat line carnivores, the Feliformes and the Caniformes, or the Canoidians and the Pheloidians, whichever one you want to talk about. So yeah, we'll just take a drink because yeah, that's just right there.
I want to see the in-betweens, right?
Okay, great. Go look at them. They're in a museum. They're in textbooks. They're all over the place. I mean, you can just go look at them.
There is a slideshow right above me playing what you want to see,
Yep.
Dino Dave.
Dino Dave, come on
There,
the channel. I
there
will
it is.
show you the slideshow. Full of transitional forms that connect what are now very different organisms.
So variation within a kind is accepted both by creationists and evolutionists. We believe God built this in as a survival mechanism so that organisms could survive in diverse environmental conditions and in different...
Notice he's still not actually clarifying whether he means created heterozygosity or continuous environmental tracking. Still not clear on that.
areas of the earth. Well, Richard Dawkins, in his book, The Greatest Show on Earth,
which, by the way, is one of the Richard Dawkins books that I like. Although advertising as author of The God Delusion seems like a mistake, but I'm not the publicist, so...
Yeah.
But no, I really do like The Greatest Show on Earth. There are some areas that, if I remember correctly, are now a little bit outdated, but still, it's a really great look into developmental biology on like an organismal level, and it dives into things like how we have traced out the actual embryological path of every single cell in C. elegans. So every single cell in that animal has a name, and we know exactly which cells it split from, all the way from the zygote, which is absolutely crazy, but it's true. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, less evocative than the crocoduck and easier to mishear. 3 out of 10. Try harder to name a fake transitional species. Yes, agreed.
Oh, God. What else? Oh, some Cookies Riot came up with an alternate theme. Transition.
Yes. I mean, look, if we can get someone who's good at doing the whole Fiddler on the Roof songs, we can get them to record that, I would definitely use that, at least occasionally.
I love this chat. I wish that, like, I had a camera for the minute that, like, we were walking through this museum on Friday, and I looked over at Fossil Daddy as we're going through, like, this big bovine, like, section. I'm like, when do you think they're going to bring back aurochs? The look of horror that was,
Fossil Daddy isn't pro aurochs?
Well, we have just had a conversation about, like, MOAs. And it's like, okay, you know, humans used to coexist with some of these animals and usually would come out fairly well. But humans right now, I don't feel like are prepared to deal with aurochs.
Maybe not. Maybe
I
not.
can't explain that, but it's just a vibe.
Okay.
I feel like we're not there.
Fair enough. Also, someone said, "Why must chat freeze?" I'm not seeing chat as frozen.
Doesn't feel like it's doing that to me.
What I believe are the key arguments for evolutionary theory, the best evidence they have. And he talks about poor design. And this goes all the way back to Darwin, pointing to the poor designs.
Balin Thalotico for $4.99 says, "Where's the dat and the cog? Vivarids and foxes. Am I a joke to you?" It's true. Yeah, Vivarids and foxes really are. And Asto, why do I hear yodeling? Ryu says, bringing it full circle, citing Richard Dawkins, the guy who doesn't know what binary is. 41494720665736120607069A66173, which is I'm not even sure. I'm going to type in hex to ASCII and just
what do you mean you can't just manually translate that? Get good, Mentat.
Yes. Oh, it's in Spanish too. AIG es un bolsa de pijas. Nice. Take a drink.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
he's not expecting the encoding to go like 2 levels deep. Very nice. Oh, it was for 1069. I don't know if I said that. Yeah, 1069.
And that this couldn't have been created by a creator. And then biogeography and vestigial structures and the fossil record and homology.
Yeah, those are all pretty good. I mean, I would definitely add in genetics because, that's a bit of a slam dunk, but okay.
Let me rephrase
Thylacoleon. Did I say that right?
I would say Thylacoleon, but,
Thylacoleon.
Thought
you were a linguist? Yeah, you might have thought that, but I'm not.
It's just a little bit into 5 key arguments for evolution.
Oh.
5 key arguments for evolution. And you read the evolutionist books, people like Richard Dawkins.
All right. Let me know in the chat. Do you think this guy has actually read evolutionist books?
Others, you're going to get these 5 pretty consistently mentioned. The first one is biogeography. Biogeography. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but this is the idea that if we look at what organisms live where on planet Earth, maybe we can learn a little bit about their evolutionary history just as they migrated and traveled.
I mean, we absolutely can. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But the thing about biogeography that I like to talk about is the fact that there is not even an attempt to account for biogeography from a young Earth standpoint. Like, you can get old Earth creationists who are still anti-evolutionists, and they can probably account for biogeography. Biogeography probably can't differentiate very well between old Earth creationism and science. I'm just going to call it science. But it's really a problem for young Earth creationism. Like, hey, why does Australia have a bunch of marsupials? And why are there virtually no native...
volcanoes.
Well, yeah, they were shot off by a volcano, I forgot. But even then, like, why do the volcanoes differentially choose marsupials? How does that work? Are marsupials just hardier and they can survive volcano airlifts? I don't know.
I mean, God put them where they needed to go because they're his strongest soldiers.
Oh, okay. Unless, you introduce, like, cats. Then they're screwed.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair,
wrecked.
Cats will wreck just about any ecosystem.
I'm just saying, like, maybe the reason cats aren't in the Bible is they're just too powerful.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Vince O'Connor for $5 says, oddly enough, I'm in the middle of a 2-week fun of Fiddler on the Roof. 2-week run of Fiddler on the Roof. Really?
Hey.
Awesome. You don't mind me asking,
what
part are you playing? I'm curious to know. Look, I like Fiddler on the Roof. I liked it since I was a kid.
Classic.
It is really good.
For example, lots of marsupials down under in Australia.
Hey, we were just talking about that. I'm going to count that as a prediction.
Hey, take a drink for a prediction.
Yes.
Yeah.
maybe we had a common ancestor that was a marsupial. Okay.
Yes. Again, yes. That is
He's
how evolution
so
works.
like,
Close.
keep going, bro. You're almost there.
Yeah, you've almost got this whole evolution thing figured out.
And so this type of thing. And this is 2003, the National Academy Press. They say historically the geographical distribution of organisms across the globe was considered evidence of evolution. As animals migrated and diversified, more local common ancestors gave rise to similar organisms. Recent books on teaching evolution no longer give it as an argument for evolution. For example, the National Academy of Sciences book Teaching About Evolution and the Nature of Science only mentions it historically.
You know,
It's almost like science changes like its understanding with more data.
it is almost like that. Also, Savage
You freaking weirdo.
premarital mitosis scorer for $5 says marsupials use their pouches as parachutes. The placentals went splat. Oh, okay. I get it. What about the occasional pouchless marsupial? Because that's a thing, you know. Jester Lord of Fools, who's been a member for 5 months, says, I mean, lions are in the Bible. That's true, but we mean, like, the domesticated
House cats. Domestic
like
cats.
Felis silvestris domestica. Goop23 for $2 says, they went in the volcano and because they craved the mineral. Yes. Delicious minerals.
Liquid rock.
So I also want to point out that this quotation sounds heavily like a quote mine. And here's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually explain why this argument might be being dropped from textbooks, right? And without that explanation, it doesn't actually make the argument that this is not an actual good piece of evidence for evolution. Which I suspect might not actually be the point of this article. Because this really, really looks like a quote mine. But I'm not going to look it up right now, because you know what? I just don't care that much.
So they'll bring it up from time to time, but by and large, biogeography's been discarded. There's been a lot of problems.
Hard disagree. I'm going to take a drink on that. Biogeography is still talked about. And even if it's not currently on the top of everyone's list of arguments for evolution, it still is utterly incompatible with young Earth creationism.
With it. For example, here's a quote of 2008 from Evolution News and Science. It's far from true that biogeography unambiguously supports common ancestry. Indeed, there are many tenacious problems of biogeography and paleobiogeography.
Hey,
That's talking about one specific model to explain, like, speciation and whatever. That's not the only one.
okay,
And
but
it's not the best one.
do you know who he's quoting here?
Hunter Beckley.
Yep, Gunter Beckley of the Discovery Institute. He's a creationist.
Incredible.
I'm going to take a drink, because way to go, buddy, for just passing off Gunter Beckley as if he's a mainstream paleontologist who
Incredible.
telling it like it is. Oh my god. Yeah, Gunter Beckley.
What
But
an
do not-
amazing phone.
How are you not drinking alcohol at this point? Oh, right. No,
I don't
no,
need
remember.
to. The chemicals are chemicaling.
Yeah.
Square well with the evolutionary paradigm of common descent. So there have been as many problems as there are arguments for evolution. This would probably be their weakest. I'm starting with their weakest, and eventually
Or at least what Gunter Beckley
now
says
you want to
the
tell
weakest.
it's their weakest. Like, didn't he tell us earlier that this was supposed to be the strongest arguments? But he's like,
He did.
is this the weakest of the strongest?
I think that's what he's trying to go for. But I am meeting him more than halfway.
Okay.
I'll get down to what I consider their best. Okay, the second one here, we're going to move quickly.
No one is promoting the recapitulation theory. If you said embryology, then that might work. But I'm just going to take a drink for like, oh, hey, one of the best arguments for for evolution is a hypothesis that was discarded almost 200 years ago. Demas for $20 US says everyone knows Dino blew up marsupials in a volcano and created thetans with a Godzilla. Okay, hold on. That's not it.
Amazing.
Thetans are immortal, eternal beings.
Souls of yeah.
Yeah, and
There was a whole cosmic war.
there was a fake tax audit.
You know what? I think I'm gonna form a breakaway sect of
Okay.
Scientology that believes that the Thetans are actually marsupial souls.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
That's why you got to get clear of them, because like
So
they're not even human souls.
You start up your own whole squirrel zone organization.
We'll call it the platypus hunters.
Ooh, I like it. But yeah, so the story is that Xeno feels like there's some overpopulation, and so he brings in a whole swath of his population because he's galactic overlord or whatever for alleged tax audits. Because at the time that this story was written, Hubbard had long since been in trouble with the IRS and was currently hanging out in international waters permanently in an effort to avoid extradition to the United States to face the music on that one. So yeah, the bad guy is the tax man in this one. And then, in an effort to get rid of them, he replaces their blood with, like, glucose or something. It's like this whole convoluted thing. Then he flash freezes them. Then he takes them to Earth, like, 1 billion years ago, and drops them into the Hawaiian volcanoes, even though the Hawaiian volcanoes are, like, less than 5 million years old. And then they blow up, which means that the Thetans that were inhabiting the physical bodies of those people are now free, and they're floating up away from the center of the Earth, or the volcano, or whatever. But he traps them on Mars, where he shows them a bunch of crazy propaganda videos, like Clockwork Orange style, to convince them of all sorts of fake things, including, by the way, the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. So whenever a Scientologist tells you that you can totally be a Christian and a Scientologist, not if you get high enough, you can't. Those low levels, sure, maybe. Not those high levels. And then those became the body Thetans that attach to your body after the main Thetan, that's you, inhabits it sometime like around conception-y kind of a thing. Yeah, the Church of Scientology is pretty right-wing, and they're mostly pro-choice. Or sorry, pro-life. Yeah, that Thetan starts inhabiting you when you're very, very young. But then all the body Thetans who are lost and confused and don't even know that they're Thetans, they'll attach to you physically in different parts of your body. And so when you finally get to the OT3 level, you can start to audit the actual body Thetans. And you'll have one at like the tip of your finger or something. You'll have to audit that tip of your finger and give it special Scientology therapy so it goes away from your finger and just becomes a regular old Thetan. Yeah, Scientology. It's a thing. We cut the Pratt for $1.99. Remind you of Mike Winger's argument style? Yeah, I can see that.
A little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Fearmonger notes right after that, hey, remember when the Scientology Holy Scriptures were leaked? And the higher-ups in the cult had to choose between abusing copyright law to take it down or not admitting that they were real.
Yep, and they ended up going with not admitting they were real, which is why they're still up. Because, yeah, that was great. The court was like, okay, so you want this taken down on the grounds of you own the copyright. But you also say that these are not your real scriptures.
Pick
so
one.
Which is it?
Pick a lane.
Either these guys made up these fake scriptures that aren't yours, and they don't have to take them down because they have the copyright, or you have the copyright, and these are the real scriptures. Which legal argument would you like to go with? And they were like, totally fake. They can keep them.
Yeah.
So Vulpus and Yovim Goddess exists because, oh my goodness, you're giving me too much Japanese, Ryu. Says for $5. I come back after some research, and why are we talking about the religion that believes I'm blue was documentarial? Someone mentioned it. Look,
True.
I do occasionally like talking about Scientology. That's why I had Chris Shelton on. And we talked about
Cookies
some of the
Riot
weird stuff.
is asking, is Vishanti high enough to be a Scientologist and a Christian at the same time?
Ooh.
That's a level of high that doesn't exist for me.
I don't think you have enough money to be a Scientologist.
I do not.
So I don't actually really watch Reckless Ben, but I did watch some of his Scientology series. And it was amazing to me that they were just like, oh, you got this money for our course by stealing your friend's game console and pawning it. Well, we can't say that that's a good thing, but we'll totally take the money. Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks, Scientology. Jeez.
Let's go.
Is
Wonderful.
embryology, and that is this recapitulation theory of embryology. And this goes all the way back to Haeckel.
And it doesn't go any farther than him, because it was very obviously not true. This recapitulation theory is basically, you go through the evolutionary steps as an embryo. So you start out as a little single-celled organism because you evolved from a single-cell organism. Then you turn into like a little wormy thing because you used to be a worm. Then you turn into a fish because you used to be a fish. Then you turn into a weird lizardy thing because you used to be a lizardy thing. Then you turn into a generic mammal thing because, you used to be a generic mammal thing. And then eventually you turn into an ape. And then finally you turn into a human. Yeah, none of that's true. However, the pattern of embryology that follows Ernst von Bayer's laws of embryology, 1, provides excellent evidence for evolution, 2, only makes sense in the context of common ancestry, and 3, has not been overturned. So if you want to talk about embryology and its alleged support, well, it's actual support, but for him it would be alleged support for evolution, maybe don't talk about the version of embryology that's been discredited for like 200 years. Savage premarital mitosis cover for $5 says, so the Thetans blew up. Unlike the rock formation, Lieutenant J.G. Hubbard spent 60 hours depth charging. Yeah, so in case you guys don't know, at one point during World War II, Hubbard was the CEO of a little ship with some depth charges and some cannons. And at one point, he spent all of his depth charges basically shelling a big rock under the water because he thought it was a submarine. And that got him a little bit of a reprimand. But
almost as shitty a seaman as he was a sci-fi writer.
The thing, though, that actually got him fired from his command was the time that he spent most of a day shelling some random Mexican island.
Yeah.
For no discernible reason. Just shelling Mexico. Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the U.S. was not at war with Mexico during World War II.
I was going to say, isn't that an act of war? Yeah.
Basically, Hubbard committed an act of war against Mexico, and the only reason that it didn't actually turn into war is because it was an uninhabited spit of rock. So Mexico was just like, I mean, dude, come on, but like, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexico didn't want to enter a war with the United States over some tiny spit of rock in the middle of nowhere. But, like, they totally could have, and they would have been in the right.
And Darwin's time. And it's this idea that a embryo, as this embryo is developing, reenacts or mirrors its evolutionary past.
Or recapitulates. And yes, that is the basic idea of recapitulation. But it's also
Dapper?
not true, yeah.
Cookies Riot says, we also did accidentally launch a V2 into Mexico during World War II.
I mean, look.
Big if true.
I don't know that that's true. It sounds like something that might have happened, but also, why was the US launching V2s? Coop23 for $2 says, AIG is a bag of things that have semen.
Yeah.
Like a submarine. It's long and hard and full of semen. Yeah, look. As a former member of the United States military, you're going to be hard-pressed to find me saying that the United States military never does anything wrong. Because,
Also, we didn't have beef with Mexico directly during World War II, but they did kind of cozy up a little bit. Hitler wanted to cozy up to them. And as, why do these chats keep disappearing? This is becoming very frustrating. Fearmonger says, Hitler did try to recruit Mexico to attack the US, but they just tattled on him. So,
there you go.
It's not on them.
So,
but I think they knew, like, we don't want to smoke.
That reminds me, in The Man in the High Castle, isn't Mexico one of the only surviving countries that isn't Japan or Germany by that point? Because I think it is. Which, by the way, I need to actually go ahead and finish that show, because I, finished season 1 and then I just never went back, and I have no idea why. Also, here's a cool thing. You know, all the special effects for The Man in the High Castle were done in Blender?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I watched a whole thing about how they made the big, Coliseum area where, that main guy gets the medal pinned on him by old Hitler. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
I really wanted to watch that because I like Rufus Sewell quite a lot as an actor, but I'm so tired of stories about Nazis, whether they're AU Nazis or not. I'm just done. I don't want to have to do this.
No, I get it.
I'm sorry, Rufus Sewell, I failed you.
No, it's a very understandable. All right, here we go. Recapitulation.
And so it goes through these various stages that kind of mirror where it came from. And this idea has now been completely discredited.
By now, do you mean 150 years ago?
Well, that's about as current as any creationist could hope to be.
Fair.
But it's still in school textbooks.
Name one textbook that you know of that has recapitulation theory not mentioned as a now discredited idea, right? Because that's a thing that might happen. I'm perfectly okay with textbooks saying, hey, we used to think this thing, but now we don't. I would like you to name one textbook, Dino Dave, in which recapitulation theory is being taught as true that has been published in the last 50 years. Just one. I'm giving you 50 freaking years, man. That's older than most creationist citations are. So you should definitely have it.
Wow.
It's still in school textbooks. It was presented.
I'm just taking a drink. It's not. And hell, if you find it in a current textbook, I will join you in your crusade to get that textbook out of schools.
Oh.
Savage premarital mitosis cobra.
Premarital mitosis cobra.
Okay, you do it.
For $2 because this is relevant. Mexico declared war on the Axis powers on May 22nd, 1942.
Way to go, Mexico.
Orgulloso.
Did they do anything, though? Did they send troops anywhere? Because I
mean,
know.
they did fight, but it just wasn't a lot. I mean, they didn't have, like, the resources to engage as much as,
I'm not expecting them to be a decisive thing. I'm just curious. Was it one of those, like, symbolic declarations of war, or did they actually do a battle? Okay.
If I might be mistaken on that one, but I'm pretty sure I heard that they did have a very tiny amount of resources. Whatever, it doesn't matter. What I was going to say, Mexico was one of the places that refugees went to afterwards. So there was like an influx of Showa survivors to like Mexico City. There's still a big burgeoning population to this day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, before World War II, there were a bunch of German immigrants, and now there is a friend of mine told me about it. He was like, yeah, there's these villages in Mexico that are just all Germans, and they make the best cheese. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a weird thing, but okay, sure. Hey,
you know what? I'll eat their cheese.
Yeah, German immigrants going to Mexico and making awesome cheeses. I'm for it. I am pro
also,
that.
I had someone fact check the V2 thing. So my local rocket history expert friend, Dead Kennedy in Space, post World War II, yes, America accidentally launched a V2 into Mexico, but here's the best part. When the US got there to pick it up, locals had set up a stall and were selling scrap metal.
Nice. Nice. You know what?
I love my people.
Look,
that's great.
Look, no one's going to say that the Mexicans do not notice economic opportunities when they encounter them. They definitely do. Talk about some entrepreneurial spirit right there.
Damn right.
Here we go.
By Haeckel, who, if you remember from our last session, was the leading voice for Charles Darwin's views in Germany.
Okay, when you said in Germany, first of all, there was no Germany, but like, it's now Germany, so I'll take it. It's fine.
I mean, yeah. He slides mine a technicality.
Yeah. Liz D for $2 says, Antarctica never declared war on Axis powers. I mean, to be fair,
that would be an interesting alt history story, is like governance of Antarctica and how they got involved in geopolitics.
Well, I mean, the Axis powers tried to claim a whole bunch of Antarctica. I mean, they were just like, this is ours now. And everyone's like, first, no, but also, what are you going to do?
Oh, what?
You can farm the penguins? It's like, we could launch rockets. It's like, from Antarctica to what? What are you going to bomb the crap out of Argentina? I mean, not the most strategically useful thing to do, but okay.
I mean, I guess Sydney or maybe Johannesburg, but really?
Yeah.
A lot of research into this, and the evidence today suggests that Haeckel actually fraudulently altered the data.
Okay. First, Roasting the Keller for $4.99 US says, I'm sorry I missed the great toes. Here's the thing. Haeckel was accused a few decades ago of fraud, quote unquote. And it is true that by modern standards, what he did was unacceptable, right? He did make some of his drawings based on other people's drawings, and a few of his drawings were made without actual reference. That is true. However, there is no record of any fraud trial. he was not convicted of fraud by it. No one can find any evidence that he was. And also, the authors of the paper that were originally accusing him of fraud later issued not just a retraction, but a second paper indicating that they no longer believed that he had committed fraud, and instead releasing new versions of the photos of the embryos that they had previously used to accuse him of fraud, after they noticed that his notes indicated that he had sized all of the embryos so that they were proportionally equal, and that he had removed all maternal and yolk tissues from the embryos for ease of comparison. And then when they did, also reoriented them all the same way. And then when they did that same thing, they were like, yeah, no, Haeckel's pretty good, actually. He's fine. Not perfect, but then again, he was working with, crappy microscopes by modern standards. So he did about as well as anyone could possibly have done.
Savage premarital mitosis Cobra in the chat says, Mexico contributed one squadron of fighters to the Philippines campaign. All other Mexicans fighting in the war were volunteers in other militaries. Makes me want to dig up some family history, because I've always wondered how my Filipino great-granddad met his spouse, who was Mexican. I'm like, how did that happen? I haven't found any marriage records from, any contemporaneous period, and I'm like...
You might have to thank the Japanese imperial family for making you exist.
I would probably owe more to the Spanish because of their longer history there in both of those countries, but still.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
To make it look like this is the case. Here is his famous drawing of embryos.
Yep.
And you can see we got a fish over on this side developing along, and then a salamander, a tortoise, a chick, a hog, a calf, a rabbit, and finally humans on the end. And notice
oh man,
up here,
are you telling me that I had an ocelot phase?
No, not really.
Damn it!
But you did have a phase when, as an embryo, you were hard to distinguish from an ocelot. So, I mean, there's that.
I'm in my ocelot era.
Still. How those pharyngeal arches doing?
you see along where the neck is, you kind of see these folds, these that look almost like gill slits of a fish. And of course, you have the abdomen is.
Yeah, but they're pharyngeal arches, and they really do exist. And there's no great reason to explain why they exist, apart from evolution. Because the thing is, if you look at the fish, most of the pharyngeal arches become gills. But when you get to the salamander, they become things like jaw bones, thyroid gland tissues, other fancy things all over the place. Why is that? Yeah.
Kind of going down there, and it's somewhat like a fish's tail. It hasn't fully developed. These are just stages of development. And Haeckel.
Yeah, that's true. We'll take a drink.
Wow, he really nailed it.
Showed it like, well, all these very diverse organisms look a lot alike. Maybe because we all came from a fishy common ancestor.
I mean, that's not how I would put it, but yeah.
All breathe through gills and swim around.
No, they don't all breathe through gills. Jeez, man, I'm taking a drink. I don't...
You know, maybe Haeckel was just predicting the Talokan. Like the Talakanil. Because, you know, maybe they had gills that developed by mutation into, you know, gills, even though they have jaws and lungs for some reason.
Well, I mean, only the first few pharyngeal arches turned into jaws and inner ear bones in mammals. The rest of them turned into other things.
Yeah, they somehow get all that and gills, which...
And gills, yeah. Or, counterpoint, maybe he was predicting the deep ones. And he knew about Innsmouth before anyone else did.
Dun, dun.
Yeah. Also, Carrie Bronson says, AIG is an attaché infested with gonads. That is not quite right, because, you know, AIG is a bag of dicks, does not include the gonads, but you know what, I'm going to take a drink for it anyway. By the way, gonads are the actual things that make the reproductive cells, the gametes. Yeah.
Haeckel predicted the shape of water, says Cookie Riots.
You know what? I gotta say,
I love it.
When Ben Shapiro described that movie as Grinding Nemo, that was one of the few times I ever actually laughed legitimately at a Ben Shapiro quote. I was like, all right, Ben, you got me on that one. That's pretty good.
Who wrote that joke? There's no way he came up with that.
He probably didn't, but like he said it, and I was like,
It's so funny.
It's very rare that I'm like, good job, Ben Shapiro, but that's one of them who's like, it's Grinding Nemo, and I was like, all right.
That is actually
good.
clever.
You got me.
Yeah, you got me. Yachty.
Brown had a tail, and it's kind of sounded superficial.
We still have tails, technically.
Yeah. Your coccyx is your tailbones. I mean, it's what they are. They're fused vertebrae. They're caudal vertebrae. They don't stick out from, the body wall, but like they're there.
Really a little bit interesting, but they never really presented why. Why would an embryo relive its historical evolutionary past? There's no reason for that.
Yeah, he's right. It's almost like recapitulation theory isn't a theory. It's a discarded hypothesis from well over a century ago. Take a drink.
It should be whatever is the best for development.
Now that's curious, because it's definitely not that, right? Like, why do whales grow actual limb buds that only later get reabsorbed? Why do humans grow actual tails that only later get reabsorbed? Huh. Weird. Why do birds start growing 3 independent digits that then later just kind of fuse into one big immobile clump? I don't know. It's almost like there's an evolutionary history that has to actually tweak things as it goes, rather than just starting from scratch. Weird.
Should be chosen. But they made a really big deal about these gill slits here. You see these little wrinkles, and supposedly they all...
Hey, I think we're actually close to getting Vishanti and feeders on Saturday.
Hey, all right.
Possible. I think we need what is it, like maybe 20?
All had these little wrinkles staged at the same time, and that shows that we all had this common ancestor. Well, if just wrinkles around your neck prove that you once had a fishy ancestor, well, how about this guy?
Okay, here's the thing, right? This is the thing that you get with pseudoscientists, not just creationists, all the time. They'll say, okay, well, this one data point isn't enough to prove this thing, and then therefore it can be discarded entirely. As if the case for a scientific hypothesis weren't a holistic thing in which you had to take into account all of the data points that all point in the same direction. Very rarely is any one piece of evidence for a conclusion absolutely proof positive, conclusive evidence. That's all you need, right? And sure, I'll grant you, embryology on its own doesn't prove evolution. But no one's using it that way, right? We're saying this is evidence of evolution because it doesn't actually make sense on the idea of special creation, but evolution can easily explain it. Well, that doesn't prove it. It's not supposed to prove it, man. It's one piece of evidence among a myriad bunch of different kinds of evidence. So if anyone is like, well, I don't believe this thing in science because none of the pieces of evidence on their own demonstrated conclusively, that is a person who just fundamentally does not understand not just science, but evidence. Evidence.
That is the perfect way to explain like my just unrelenting hatred of like younger creationist discourse, is that's the very thing. You think any strong piece has to do all the work on its own.
Yeah. Also,
this one single thing didn't do it, therefore it's all fake.
Yeah, and also you dismiss everything that doesn't just conclusively prove it, right? Like, just think about it in terms of a trial, which I don't normally like that analogy, but it fits here, right? In a trial, no one piece of evidence is usually the smoking gun that convicts someone. It's a conclusion made of numerous bits of evidence that all point in a particular direction that, when all taken together, indicates beyond any reasonable doubt that this person did this thing that they're accused of. That's the point of evidence. Now, My Unfinished Journey for $5 says, feeder, feeder, feeder. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's possible.
Yay.
All right.
Let's see. Ancestral Clydesdale megafauna says, God's perfect design, moving male gonads from internal organs to external organs on running bipeds.
Not the most convenient arrangement.
It's up there with elbows.
Elbows.
Kyle Pratt says, this guy's almost ready to debate an 1870s evolutionist.
Also, Joshua Geese for $20 says, "Goal met, go Team Ramrod." Thank you very much. And I do believe that does in fact meet it. And I'll double check. Vishanti,
Right on.
type into our Discord what the actual number is, just so I can make absolutely sure. Oh yeah, Vishanti, on Saturday, you better have some feeders.
Yeah.
Are you going back to being a fishy ancestor?
That's literally a Kenthoven cartoon.
Oh my god.
That is just Kenthoven. You know what? This is an official drink trigger, but I'm just drinking for the blatant plagiarism. And yeah, we already went over the fact that Kent only kind of copyrights things. I don't care.
I mean, these embryos never breathe through them. They're not actually gills. It's just a developmental stage.
Does anything just breathe in the way that he's thinking while in the womb? Especially
No.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm going to take a drink.
It's just the process of how things develop looks superficially that way. But, it's worse than even that because that's not how the embryos look. This is a better illustration of how
trying to dunk on the looks like fallacy or whatever.
Look, and you see nowhere in this illustration do they ever line up and have that similarity.
Actually, if you get rid of all of the maternal material, they kind of do. Yeah. They actually do. Like, for instance, what's the biggest difference between the human, say, and the shark? It's the yolk material. If you got rid of that yolk material and you arrange them so that their body parts were pointing the same way, that human embryo and that shark embryo would look a whole lot more similar. Same thing with the lungfish. Same thing with the salamander. That's the point. And then you look at, say, the human, the chimp, the chicken, and to some extent even the lizard, and they look really, really, really similar. But then you say, look at the chimp and the human, and they look way more similar, all the way up to the point where they're neonatal. Because it's a nested hierarchy that not only works with genetics, it not only works with morphology as an adult, but it also works with embryology. And there's no good reason for that to be the case other than common ancestry. Especially since this guy was already like, development should proceed along the best, most efficient path, which it absolutely does not in any of these animals.
This is bad.
Yeah. Also, I gotta say that shark, the adult shark, is weirdly adorable. Like, it doesn't even look like a real shark, but I kind of want to hug it.
I'll see it when it's on the stream, because for whatever the reason, the Discord window is too small.
They just don't. And yet Darwin considered it to be the strongest single class of facts in favor of his theory. Haeckel called it the biogenetic law.
And he was wrong. Cookie's right for $5 says, if plagiarism becomes a drink trigger, you can't ever do Armando Calvo takedowns. True. That's death.
Yeah, you'll die.
New series, Christ Righteous with Cookie's Riot. I don't think does Christ Righteous still put out a lot of stuff that he actually says new things on?
Those are two completely different answers. He puts out stuff semi-regularly, but he doesn't have new stuff. It's all the same stuff, just...
And also, most of his stuff seems to be more like just general Christian apologetics, which I tend not to cover.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
And they're also lazy apologetics.
Yeah. Like, I'm almost certainly never going to cover, like, Frank Turek or Gary Habermas or...
Good.
I don't know. Like, it's not my wheelhouse. There are other people who are covering those people doing a better job than I am. And also, I just don't care. I just don't care. It's like, oh, Gary Habermas made a bad argument for the resurrection. I'm just like, all right, cool. I don't care. I'll let other people cover that. In fact, I don't even care enough to look into whether or not I think his argument is bad. I just don't.
Oh my god. Apparently, Armando is working on God Is 2.
Didn't he already do that? Oh no, he did a second edition of God Is.
Yeah. And he checked it with the copyright.
I just realized. I think Armando Calvo is the Neil Breen of Christian apologetics. He's got these incomprehensible titles with this really bad like background information. He's got like no sense of aesthetics, but he is so full of himself. All we need now is... I
feel like that's a really good...
All we need now is a really weird vibe with underage girls. And then he's got the Neil Breen thing to a T.
Thank you. No. Mm-mm.
Just saying, that happens in some Neil Breen movies.
I didn't say it did, but no, we're not putting that in the Elmondo Calvo universe.
Also, I mean, look, I've seen Neil Breen scrotum, and I don't want to see Elmondo scrotum.
They made a big deal about this. It was prominently presented in some of the later versions of The Origin of Species, and yet
Okay, look, it's been a while since I've read the entire text of the 6th edition of The Origin of Species, but I do not remember recapitulation theory appearing there, but I may well be wrong. If anyone can find recapitulation theory in any of, like, say, like the 4th through 6th editions, because those are the later ones, let me know. Because I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying, like, Fearmonger says, you effing what? It's in one of his movies. In one of his movies, Double Down. In Double Down, Neil Breen is laying face down in a pool next to his recently assassinated wife. And he's naked. And it's just right there, floating in the water. It's just there on screen. And that's the shot he went with.
Ancestral Clydesdale Megafauna says, leave Gary Habermas for Pelagia Black Squares. Shout out Black Square Gang.
Yeah.
it's been completely discredited today.
Sure, true.
Despite it being completely discredited, it's still in textbooks.
Is it? Because I feel like that's an area where I should have added my citation needed video to this particular scene, but I didn't, so we're going to continue on.
Dapper is a professional.
That's not a mistake. That's just an over. Sure, I'll drink for it anyway, because I don't care, because I'm thirsty.
That's a distinction without a difference.
Well, I drank for it.
Okay.
Just didn't bring a beverage.
Now this,
I mean, I brought a beverage. It's just not alcoholic.
You should have to take more edible every time. You just be unconscious for 3 days.
Yeah. Then I would really would be Rosetta Stoned. Like,
this should be a complete embarrassment and should discredit the evolutionists. Here we have
the thing you say isn't happening should discredit the evolutionists. Tell you what, if you can actually show that it's happening, then maybe.
Darwin's fake drawings still used in a modern textbook by Donald Promathero bringing fossil.
Promathero. I feel like you added an extra syllable. Heather Coons, paradigms do not equal Mage the Ascension Coon, for $5 says, this is your reminder that plagiarism doesn't equal copyright infringement. That's true. That is true. Technically, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I have been sort of conflating the two. Yeah. Also, why does Donald Prothero sound familiar? I feel like I've heard of this guy. Also, I love that trilobite. Anyway.
Fossils to Life, Introduction to Paleobiology.
Back. Yeah, they are.
And there it is. Crazy.
Oh. Rosa McKellar from 199 says, AIG is a bag of green penis. Nice. Take a drink.
All right, let's go to number 3. We'll spend a little more time on this one.
Fear CMB's Monger says, wait a second, Dapper, he said they were Darwin's fake drawings.
Ah, I didn't hear that, but you know what? I'll take a drink because that's dumb, because they're Haeckel's fake, in parentheses, drawings.
Oh, he misspoke. Never mind. I mean, but still.
Look, I took the drink. It's too late now.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, he misspoke, so that's legit. You wouldn't have...
Yeah. I'm not going to undrink it.
Yeah.
That sounds like a whole hassle. Yeah, Prothero is a paleontologist and anti-creationist activist. He wrote Evolution, What the Fossils Say, which I feel like I've read. Oh. Okay, that's why Prothero sounds familiar. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
Look, that's another reason I love the audience here, is because, like, if I'm like, hey guys, remind me of this thing, there's a chance that, like, at least 1 or 2 people is just gonna know. And, like, hey, why do I recognize the name Prothero? You just know. You guys you're just like, yeah, here it is. Awesome. You guys are amazing.
The fossil record. What do we see in the fossil record? Well, amongst other things, we see extinction. We see
True. Take a drink.
Yeah.
Including of my people, the Ceratosaurus, the noble Ceratosaurus. I am the only one left.
See what looks to some people to be intermediate forms, and we
it looks to some people to...
Hey, Vishanti, could you just point directly above you? One little finger just pointing directly above. There you go. Oh, man. Oh, weird.
See sequences,
Look at all
general
those
sequences
transitional
of
forms.
simpler things on the bottom and more complex things higher up in the higher layers. And so these things seem to be things that would lean towards supporting evolutionary theory. But
You mean things that are predicted by evolution and were contra-predicted by creationists before they were found might lead you to think that maybe evolution is true as a result of confirmed predictions, and that creationism or special creation is false on the basis of, false predictions? Weird! Oh my goodness!
Hey, we have 3 minutes until the celestial plane is crossed, or celestial equinox.
Yes, until the celestial
Equinox.
equator, until the sun crosses the
Equator,
celestial equator.
thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. And as soon as I said it, I was like, no, that's the wrong word.
I knew what you were going for.
Thanks, THC. Appreciate that.
My Unfinished Journey says, for 301, just to double the needed amount. Awesome. Yeah, we do only have 3 minutes. So everybody, I want you to put in chat what your, also in the comments if you're watching this later, I want you to put what your favorite thing about winter is, but also what your favorite thing about spring is, because I want to know both of them. And if your favorite thing about winter is snow, not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to say that's crazy. Snow is terrible.
My favorite thing about winter, all the extra sleep and blankie time that I get.
The blankies are really nice, especially since here in Tucson, when like summer comes, I don't even have a top sheet sometimes. I'm just on top of,
that's fair.
Of the bottom sheet. That's it.
Was it the favorite thing about spring?
Favorite thing about winter and spring?
More sunlight.
Yes, yeah. It's hard to have
More
the
sunlight.
sad when there's more sunlight.
Exactly. Brain needs the happy chemicals.
Sunlight helps. DM, the first cell had to find a wife wing for $5 says, Dapper, you might realize this, but this guy's presentation is very similar to another creationist called Kent Hovind. Maybe you should look into him. I'll take a look at that, man. Yeah, that's a good idea. You know, maybe I should debate him and put it on my channel.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That'd be cool. Actually, by now he might have. Actually, I'm pretty sure by now he's almost certainly forgotten who I am. Every once in a while, I'm like, I should call Kent and just record it. And then I realized, like, I don't want to deal with all the legal hassle about like recording.
I was going to say, is Florida
like,
two-party consent state?
Well, now it's Alabama.
I don't feel like it is.
It's Alabama now. And
that's right. Right.
I think Alabama is a one-party consent, but I also
it probably is.
Still, I feel like because I actually did call him and ask him to record once, and it was in the wake of his discussion with Aaron Ra. And I don't know if I ever actually ended up putting that anywhere online because it was before I started this channel. But his exchange with Aaron Ra was a thing that happened. That is one of the events of history.
One of the events.
Yes. All right, so let's take a look at what people are saying. Let's see. Winter, nothing, hate it. Spring, it's getting warm. Okay, problem from heaven. There you go. Hot peppermint chocolate for winter. Ooh, yeah, that's a pretty good one. Katina Pack Base. Rainy weather curled up with a good book in spring. That is nice. We don't get a whole lot of rain on it. Oh, hey, it's 8:06. We did it, everybody.
Hey!
Happy spring. Congratulations, everybody. We're out of winter. Winter is over. Nice.
Finally.
All right. Let's see. Jillian premarital mitosis friend says, replying to search. Cool. I'm gonna go with that. Huge cool. Dapper's fondness for heat is one of the ways we're very different. Yeah, look, I'm a Ceratosaurus, right? I'm a desert creature from Jurassic. I need the heat. Nima says, my favorite thing about winter is Santa. Okay, sure, we have no proof that he's real, but we can't disprove him, so he exists. Here's my counter. He is a recurring character in the Power Rangers, so he must be real.
Alabama is one-party consent. Thank you, Ancestral Clydesdale Megafauna.
Also, you little rascal for 200 Argentinian peso says, don't know if it'll make you feel any better, but Lunt has mentioned you and misquoted you in debates with...
Oh my god, amazing!
Wait, with other people? Wait, what? Really?
Kent Hovind. Yeah.
That's
great. That's great.
Okay, you little rascal, you need to contact me on like Shitter or Discord or something and like send me some of this because I am not aware of this at all and I need to be. Dutch Tunicate Official says winter no mosquitoes, spring more light. Okay, counter. Phoenix, Arizona, basically devoid of mosquitoes. I've spent many a night outside in Phoenix. No bug spray. Not a single mosquito
that's
bite.
one thing that's nice.
Yeah.
We're being northern hemisphere-ish because it would have been the autumnal equinox for the southern hemisphere.
Tell you what, southern hemisphere, when you get to 50% of the population rather than like 20% of the population of humans, I will stop calling this the vernal equinox.
This might require some substantial continental upheaval because the northern hemisphere contains far more land.
Yes, it does. And even then, the land is much, much more densely packed with humans than the southern hemisphere land. So, I'm sorry, but virtually everyone I talk to every day is a northern hemisphere person. Virtually everyone on Earth is a northern hemisphere person.
Sorry, southern hemisphere folks.
Look, it doesn't mean that your autumnal equinox doesn't count or isn't valid. But it's not where I am, and it's not where virtually everyone is. Sorry, Thylaco Leon Kennedy. Sorry, Cookies Riot.
Man, even my sister's roasting you. Wow.
Cookies Riot says lack of bugs is a massive plus about living in Vegas. Yes. All right, guys. So we're a little bit over time. I wanted to go a little bit over time just to get to the equinox, to the actual time, which I did look up today. I was like, when is the actual time the sun is going to go across the ecliptic? So happy spring for almost everyone. Happy
Yay.
autumn to the, like few of you who happen to inhabit the other side of the planet. It's okay. I've been there. I liked it. It was fine, Sun going the other way in the sky, the moon being upside down.
Pegahase, I don't know. Hemisfolks or hemisfolks?
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to consult with the copyright.
Okay.
Anonymous Pie says, Master Perceive Dapper hates the real deep south. Hey, my keychain currently has kangaroo leather on it. So, that's a thing.
Okay.
A family member went to Australia and got me a kangaroo leather keychain attachment thing. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. I want to say thank you so much. You guys have been you guys are always an amazing audience. I really appreciate it. Vishanti, you have anything coming up?
Yeah, Saturday. I'm gonna be right back here.
Yes, you are. All right. So let's take a look at what's coming up on this channel. So on Thursday, actually, you know what? Well, I'm going to back up. Wednesday, currently, I am still expecting Power Rangers Jungle Beasts on my alternate channel, Top Hats Off. It is a Power Rangers TTRPG actual play. It features Benthoven. It features Maddie. It features TD Lane, Zerolon, who's in my chat. There's a bunch of names you might recognize who are there. We have fun. We play a Power Rangers TTRPG. We barely ever use the Zords because the Zord rules in the TTRPG absolutely suck. But that's okay. That being said, we're actually now coming close to the end of the campaign. This campaign, after tomorrow's session, assuming we have it, because there's still a little bit of a question, because there's a few people who are kind of iffy on being able to make it tomorrow. But yeah, we've only got like 11 more episodes or something, right? Like, we're getting to the end. Like, we're almost to the point where it's like the actual countdown, like the 10, 9, 2 to 1 digit countdown. So check that out if you want to. Then on Thursday, at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we are having the episode 3 of the Creepy Carl Baugh thing, which is freshly tossed word salad. Here's the thing about that, guys. I am really happy with how that thing turned out, but for some reason, YouTube is just like, We're just not going to show anyone this. So here's what I'm really, really asking you. Please watch those videos. Comment on those videos, and don't mention the algorithm, because once you mention the algorithm in chat or in the comments, the algorithm starts to ignore your comment. Instead of mentioning the algorithm, just say something like, I love Dapper Dinosaur's videos, or I love all Dapper Dinosaur videos, something like that, right? If you just want to comment for the algorithm, just do that. If you have an actual comment based on the content of the video, leave that comment. But please watch those, share them if you can, because I gotta be honest, the degree of work that I gave it versus YouTube just arbitrarily deciding to just shut those videos down is really disheartening. And it's been a lot in the last couple weeks, if I'm being honest. It has made the last couple weeks a lot harder for me. Just the fact that YouTube just arbitrarily is like, you know what? You have a really good click-through rate when people are giving impressions of this. You have a really good viewer retention when people watch it, but we're just not going to show it to people. And it's like, come on, man. Why? And there's no reason that I can discern, because YouTube doesn't tell me. So please go watch that on Thursday. Watch the previous 2 episodes. If you've already seen them, watch them again. Maybe turn them down, go do dishes or something. I don't know. Help me out there, because it's really been disappointing, because I'm so happy with how they turned out, and I'm so disappointed with YouTube
they look really cool.
So yeah, that's Thursday. Then on Saturday, as we already know, Vishanti's going to be here for the sequel to this. We got through... Wow, actually, we did pretty well. We got through like 14 minutes of this. That's a bit more than we usually do.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're going to watch more of this. We're going to hear more about mocking the idea of a designer, I guess, and nested hierarchy, maybe. I guess, maybe. I don't know. So that'll be on Saturday. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Yes, by the way, my Tuesday shows have now gone to 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Period. All of them, because daylight savings time has started back up, and Arizona doesn't do that, so I have to change some of my shows to help with that. But now we're back to what you're used to. That's basically it. The only other thing I want to point out is that if you are a fan of my actual play TRPG stuff, I have an Enterprise era, Star Trek Enterprise era one-shot for Star Trek Adventures coming up, not this Wednesday, but the one after. And that will also involve Maddie. It'll involve, Chesh is going to be there. There's a whole bunch of people you're going to know. It's fun. I've done animations for it. There's art. There's music. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to be doing a pretty cool adventure, I think. So please check that out if you'd like to. It's also going to be the prequel to a later mini campaign, and then an even later full campaign that I'm going to be doing. The mini campaign is going to be TOS era. We're going to be on a Constitution class ship, and the TNG era one, which is actually going to take place probably slightly after the last episode of Deep Space Nine, what we left behind, or what we leave behind, left behind. I don't know. Tense is confusing. It's going to be set slightly after that, and I don't know what class ship anyone's going to pick. So there you go. With that, though, thank you so much. If you are interested, please head over to the Discord server. That's for supporters, if you're a supporter, and we're going to watch some Power Rangers Ninja Storm. So there you go.
Yay!
With that, everybody, happy spring. Happy autumn if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, a safe rest of your week, and we are out of here. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovend, Felgavara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, E2V, Strawberry Vein, Denny5252, Elron Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey Day Them, Sphincter of Doom, and Volus. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.